I have a secret to tell you. Maybe you've heard it before, or maybe you haven't, but all art is literally just something old that was remixed into something new. Have you seen The Northman? It's really good. It's also literally Hamlet by William Shakespeare. The main character's name is even Amleth. I'm sure you've seen The Lion King. That's also Hamlet. Shakespeare is probably the storyteller who's been stolen from the most. I personally haven't read his work besides Julius Caesar and King Lear in high school, but I have watched countless movies and shows based on his work. The reason people reheat his nachos so much is because his stories are timeless, relatable, and full of jokes, both witty and raunchy, and they are tightly written plot-wise. When something works, people are going to steal that formula and use it over and over again. It's kind of like when you watch a movie and you love it, but you've seen it too many times and want to watch something new. But you really like that movie you watched 100 times. So what's the solution? Make the same movie, but change a few things up a bit, like specific plot points and characters. So now you have a totally new movie that's sure to be a hit. Hollywood has taken this idea, sucked out any creativity, and basically decided, we're not even going to change the movie plot and characters anymore, we're literally just going to remake it. All of this is to say there's a right way and a wrong way to remix art and recycle its motifs. Exact copying is one of the most serious violations in the art world, but, and I might be hanged for saying this, it's not that far off from taking inspiration or using references. Tracing is even okay if you do it with your own original photos or make something so far removed from what was traced that it becomes unrecognizable. Obviously, nothing can be made creatively in a vacuum. Even the most outsider artist is drawing from things they directly experienced in life. Abstract art, believe it or not, is still beholden to composition and aesthetics. Art is a reflection of us, and since we are so connected to each other in the world we live in, it's unavoidable to take inspiration from other art you've seen. And that's how it should be. That's how art gets better. People build on the ideas which came before and create something improved or makes the same point in a clearer way, or even redefines the original idea. I think art is very much like conversation and improv. When you make a reference or pay homage to another piece of art in your work, it's like saying yes and. You really don't want to be adding nothing of substance, and you really don't want to repeat what was already said. The goal is to take it further in the most enjoyable way. Hollywood and the video games industry have lost sight about what makes a good experience for the person engaging with the art. The reason for this is that repeating formulas worked so well for so long that they kept reinvesting into creating bigger and bigger projects, but leaning heavily onto these worn out story patterns that the crutch is creaking with the wood about to burst apart, sending splinters in every direction. More and more often we see these giant $200 to $300 million projects flop, and that's because these creative industries are terrified of taking risks. The budgets are too big to fail, but they are doing it anyway because the people are tired of having to eat the same recycled slop. So the problem is that the financial budget is bloated and the idea bank is overdrawn. The solution is to give a lot of crazy ideas smaller budgets. That way you are spending the same amount of money on a bunch of smaller projects with the chance of one of them hitting it big. This method also finds new formulas that can be worked with, and this combats the creativity stagnation problem. This strategy worked so well for the music industry in the 70s, where tons of talented people got record deals because the record labels let artists experiment and mess around in the studio. We know how the rest of the story goes though, but thankfully due to the rise of the internet today, anybody can be a creator and anyone can form a following. The modern creative industry has only been a real industry for about 100 years, and that's funny to me because they never got to have identifiable cycles like the business world does, or fashion, or literature. Movies, music, and video games have had such a short lifespan, and they have already reached a point of stalling out. The internet gives us the opportunity to outcompete old media and steal the attention and money they've been taking for granted. So get inspired and create new things. The easiest way to do this is to have a crazy amount of influences. Don't just watch mainstream stuff. See things that are challenging to sit through and upsetting to look at, like experimental or abstract art. That's the stuff that provides really fertile soil for ideas to bloom. Once you've taken in art from the furthest reaches and most obscure corners, it's time to put things together that nobody's thought of before. This is how great and original art is created. Combine things that have never crossed. Make things nobody would be bold enough to. For music examples, if you listen to music before Elvis, country, blues, and soul music were all somewhat separated. But Elvis loved these genres so much, he combined them to make his very own popular flavor of rock and roll. Even though he wasn't the first to do it, he was the only one who did it like nobody else. The band Husker Du doesn't sound like anything that came before because they combined elements from completely different genres in a new way, just like Elvis. They started as a hardcore punk band, but infused their music with melody, introspective lyrics, and more dynamic song structures. essentially laying the foundation for alternative rock and melodic hardcore. So don't just follow trends. Find things from the past that you like and combine them. Or find dead trends that weren't taken to their fullest potential and put your own spin on it. Try it. Go!